Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. Bicycle Retail Radio brings together retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders for honest discussions about the latest issues facing bicycle retailers. The podcast dives deep into the challenges and triumphs of the bicycle industry, providing an in-depth look at the person behind the profession. Aiming to deliver content that's both relatable and thought-provoking, offering real-world tips and insights to help you find success in the bicycle industry. There's a human side of the business, and the podcast aims to share stories, experiences, and strategies that you can apply in your own shop. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a sense of community, you've come to the right place. The National Bicycle Dealer Association has a rich history of supporting retailers across the nation. Founded in 1946 with a mission to strengthen specialty bicycle retailers through education, through research, through communication, and through advocacy. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is proudly supported by our members and our membership. If you'd like to learn more about the benefits of joining, please visit nbda.com.
Want to reach a dedicated audience of decision makers in the bicycle industry? Advertise in the NBDA weekly newsletter, delivered directly to our engaged members and more. This is a newsletter that's the perfect place to tell your company story. Send us your creative and we can link directly to your campaign page so you can connect with people who matter most. Showcase your brand, drive traffic, and boost your business. Visit nbda.com to learn more.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back to Bicycle Retail Radio. It means a lot to us. The conversation today is an exciting one. I chatted with Mathias Ellegiers and Ryan Liverman, founders of REMCO Tools. We talk about the Bike Lift, which is a motorized bicycle repair stand designed for professional mechanics, bike shops, enthusiasts. There's a lot of engineering and design expertise that went behind the Bike Lift, and Mathias and Ryan share how REMCO is really redefining bicycle service with a product that can handle almost any bike shape or size. We talk about how the company came to form. We dig into maybe some future plans and just how they're making bike repairs more accessible, comfortable, and efficient for everyone in the cycling world. I think you'll like this one. All right, gentlemen, welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
This is such a great opportunity. I was thrilled when I saw that you were coming on the podcast with e-bikes being a growth category in the industry. So many of our retailers focused on just moving through this product in a way that it's more efficient, especially through the service center. When I saw we have REMCO Tools on the podcast, I was like, this is an excellent opportunity for us to dive deeper. So thanks for being part of the MBDA community. I hope you found it welcoming so far.
Absolutely. It's been very welcoming for sure. I think we should try and engage a little more if we can. It's just been a slog of work. And so I think we're slowly introducing us to this community.
It is, there's a lot of work to be done, right? Like it's like this is a non-stop thing. And we're recording in May 2025 where we're dealing with tariffs and different things coming down the pipeline in the industry. I feel like there's always something. So Ryan, Mathias, thank you for being part of the podcast. Thank you for being part of the community. If you don't mind, I'm just going to get really personal right off the bat. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
I like to know how people got into the cycling industry. Like, how did you guys become founders of REMCO Tools? So maybe Mathias, I'll start with you. Like, tell us about your journey.
Yeah, happy to. I feel like those are two slightly different questions, but how did I get into the cycling industry? I think for me, it was not a choice. I'm born and raised in Belgium, in the middle of where the classics, like they're going on right now, most of them just passed, but that's been my upbringing. I rode the Koppenberg, the Patersberg, the Muur of Gerardsberg, and I have no idea how to say it in English, but I've never really gotten into it professionally. I did race on a collegiate team here in the US, and I fixed up some bikes for our team. But that's as far as I've gotten in like professional industry work. I did start a little business in furniture, ergonomic furniture, and I think we can get to that later. But I think that's how we start. Like that's how I got into like building this business and like in my passion. Yeah.
It's in your blood. I was very fortunate to ride the Koppenberg, the 100th anniversary of the Tour de Flanders. I got to ride in between the men and women's pro race, and I got to go up that
So
climb with all the fans and the beer and the butt
that's
push.
amazing.
It
Yeah,
was really cool. That is a challenging climb. Holy moly.
it
It's
is. It's
so,
especially I think the second the kicker, like in the end, that's the one that gets you.
man, yeah, it
Yeah,
got me.
it's good.
Ryan, what about you? I got to get you in here. What about you?
Gosh, I think like a lot of people, for me, it's been kind of a lifelong thing. Obviously as a kid, I enjoyed cycling, and I remember, I think it was in middle school, we were selling magazines as a fundraiser. And one of the magazines we had was the Bicycling magazine, buyer's guide. And there was this old pink Klein time trialing bike on the front back when they were independent and had their kinetic canvases. And I think that bike was just the coolest thing in the world I'd seen. And that got me into, ironically, mountain biking with my friends. This is in Olympia, Washington. And then I went to the United Bicycle Institute when I was in a sophomore in high school back in '96, I believe. And then since then, I've just been in and out of the industry, either working in bike shops across the country. I've worked at a couple companies within the industry as well, both Rolf Prima and Chris King
Oh.
over the years. So I've just been in and out of the cycling industry, I think probably for about the last 30 years in one way, shape, or form.
So how do you two end up like forming this business? Like what?
Yeah. So, I mean, I mentioned the little startup I had in ergonomic furniture. Ryan at that time worked for a slightly larger ergonomic furniture company here in Portland, Oregon. And those two companies merged. And as that happened, Ryan and I met each other in the product development department. So we worked together for a number of years, 5, 6 years, on ergonomic furniture. Most of those were standing desks.
Standing desk, that's a popular thing. I see a lot of people doing the standing desk thing. But how does that lead you to design Remco tools and like what solution or what problem did you see? I mean, it's clear to me, but like how does standing desk go to yeah, come on, connect the dots for me.
That's a fun one. I'll take that one. So I always forget to update my chronology here, but let's just say about 3 years ago, I was mountain biking and went over the bars and hurt my back, and actually wasn't able to get my bike off the rack. I had to have my wife come out and help me, and I wanted to look at my bike and try to fix it up the following day, and couldn't get my bike into the stand. And I did happen to have an old height adjustable desk in the garage. And I was like, I bet I could bolt this old bench mount clamp I have to that desk, and then I can lift the bike up so I can work on it. And I never actually did that, but that's mainly because I was like, actually, that's like a pretty good idea. Like, I mean, I wonder what the options out there that are like that. And so I did some Google research, and there are a couple products out there that were awesome, but also like really expensive. And I felt that there was an opportunity using my experience in the with lifting columns and height adjustable desks and product development to try and make a new product that could fit that niche and could be a more affordable entry point into that product category. And the very first person I reached out to was Mathias, having worked with him at Fully over the years, and knowing his history as somewhat of a chronic entrepreneur. He seemed like the best person to talk to. And then we just started talking about it, and it went very naturally from there. Given the work experience we had, we already knew the companies that we wanted to work with. We knew who to talk to, and it was just a couple of emails, and then we were off.
Well, there was a lot more work in the actual development, but yes, that was the
Yes.
start.
Matthias, when you get this phone call and you're hearing the idea, like what do you think? Like were you like, all right, yeah, there's some meat to this, or?
I'm a pretty enthusiastic person,
Yeah.
and so I don't know exactly what my response was, but I'm sure it was pretty positive. I mean, honestly, it is like a no-brainer. I didn't think about it, like I said, and I didn't have all that setup, and it didn't work on my bike that often. Also, it didn't hurt my back, but like when he said that, I was like, dude, that's just so smart. If you think about the industry right now, all these e-bikes, especially, I mean, you see it here in the US right now as well, but in Ghent, the town I'm from, like there's not enough parking for these cargo bikes. And it's like if a mechanic needs to lift these, so to me, I was like, dude, this is a no-brainer. We should totally try this.
I like that. I like that. All right. So what about, so the name Remco? I mean, I used to work for Eddie Merckx. Like I'm a road cyclist, like I get it. But what's the story about how it ties into your company's story? You got to give us that.
Yeah.
There has to be something there.
Eddie doesn't have the ring Remco has, does it?
No.
Ryan, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple different stories, but the fact of the matter is that as we were developing product, we realized we needed a company name, and we didn't really have anything at that point. And I've always been a fan of just kind of traditional U.S. company names like Acme or whatnot. And I was watching the Vuelta, the most recent one that Remco won, and I was like, Remco, like that's a pretty good name. It sounds like an old company that's been around since like the 40s or 50s, and I think we could make that work. So I ran it by
like cool stickers, like 80s style stickers saying Remco.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So it is it was born out of an affinity for those kind of classic names, and just a fantastic race by Remco Evenepoel at the Vuelta.
I love that. You were just watching it and you're like, that's it. Easy.
Yeah.
Just came, done.
I like to justify it in a way that Ryan and Matthias, N being the Dutch word, E, starting with an E, REM, company, could kind of justify Remco.
Yeah.
In a way.
I see.
That's our official
that's the official
answer.
Well, the bike lift has really become what I would say is just an innovative product in a category. It makes the service department so much more efficient. It's an essential part now of the service department. When I talk to retailers, it's almost like it's a no-brainer. It's 100% they need one in their shop now because of the surge of e-bikes. The bike lift, though, what makes it unique? Tell our listeners more. We'll link in our show notes to the website, but what should our listeners know?
When there's a ton of different small things to it, but I think in essence, we've created a product with the mechanic in mind and with the actual shop in mind. With that, I mean, like they have their setups, they have their space, they have their stands and the space they take. And we've created a stand that takes absolutely no extra space. Like it fits exactly where their current stand is. But it adds that capability of lifting heavy bikes now up to 100 pounds. We've done it in a way even that it's modular, and you can even leave your base plate in place. You just buy our lifting column, and it saves you an extra couple $100, because you don't need to buy a big honking like metal plate, or you could bolt it to the floor. And so I think that modularity, its compactness, and then the usability of it, it's so remarkably smooth and quiet with height adjustable presets that like if a user uses this, they feel but they feel that this is a premium product, and it comes at a price like a third of what else is out there on the market.
It's absolutely amazing. It's like getting in a car where you hit the button like driver number one, and everything adjusts to like you literally hit a button and this bike, the stand adjusts to you, the mechanic, to your height, like you're saying, like, and it's just sleek and smooth. And I was surprised about the price tag. When I was doing the research for this podcast, I was like, wow, this is really affordable, right?
Yeah. It's because like it's not because we're taking any shortcuts. It's because we just happen to be in the right place, I think, coming from mass consumer furniture and with our passion for cycling. Like these products have been made before for years, for decennia, in the healthcare industry, in the desk industry or furniture industry. Meaning that we don't have to custom design or custom make stuff, which is usually where the big costs are. We just have to, of course, edit and tweak things specifically for our needs and for our product. But that's where the efficiencies came in or come in.
So 100 pounds is the max weight, and it's really focused on the user. So when we think about what sets you apart from other brands, or maybe I'm sure you get calls all the time from retailers. I'm looking at this park stand. I'm looking at this, is it Uner, right? They do one as well. Is that really what sets the bike lift apart?
Ryan, you have a different, yeah, anything else?
No, I would just honestly echo what you say. I mean, I think, one of the things that sets it apart, as Mathias alluded to, is that we were coming from a consumer market. People have a lot of opinions about furniture, and they expect a certain level of fit and finish that you might not always expect when you're looking at tools or equipment. And so I think we were able to bring a fairly high level of polish and fit and finish to the product. And I would say that the main thing that sets it apart is just its broad compatibility with products that are already on the market. We didn't feel like we needed to sell you a clamp with our lift, that we needed to sell you a base plate, or that we needed to sell you anything you didn't already have. We really wanted to just have as strong a value proposition as possible, and to allow people to use what they already have and just add this additional functionality to it. And I do think that is, at this point in time, what really sets us apart is that you can already use your favorite clamp. You can use your base plate. You don't have to rework your workshop. You can open, I think it takes about, if you're going at a casual pace, about 15 minutes to open the box, bolt it to your work stand, bolt on the chuck, put your clamp in, plug it in, set your presets, and go. So this is not a time-consuming product. And I think the other thing about it that is unique is that it doesn't really require any maintenance in this regard. You, again, coming from consumer products, people don't want to have to service their height adjustable desk on an annual basis. They don't want to have to take it into the shop. So, we have a product that is, for all intents and purposes, compatible with anyone's professional work stand, that doesn't require any maintenance. And I think those are probably the most unique features that we bring to market.
And so 15 minutes to set up. So you're based in Oregon, is that correct, in the US? And
Yep.
So are you shipping to retailers or riders from Oregon as well?
Yes. Yeah, we have a really awesome 3PL, third-party logistics partner, that's about a half an hour away from where we live, that houses our inventory and does all of our fulfillment for us. So we're able to run up there and check the boxes if we need to, or grab something for a local shop, or throw a note in there or whatnot.
So easy. And it really can just be paired with any Park Tools chuck, any REMCO Tools chuck, like very easy. Feedback sports, I'm assuming, as well. So there's lots of compatibility. What about maintenance on the bike lift? Is there any maintenance required for the shop?
We recommend you wipe it down and keep it relatively clean. But other than that, no, there's no annual service cycle. There's nothing that needs to be done to it.
Are you noticing that retailers are maybe ordering one and then maybe calling you back and being like, hey, I think you actually offer, like, you make one that's two, right? But are you noticing that retailers are gravitating, like they'll get one and then they're like, oh, this is great, I need another?
Yeah, we see that often. Absolutely.
What about our mobile retailers? So the NBDA community, we have mobile retailers as part of our organization, and I'm always meeting with them monthly to talk about van build out. And I've heard them more than once talk about just lifting these e-bikes makes it really challenging. Do you have any mobile units that are working with you? Have you noticed that trend at all?
We definitely do. We have quite a few customers that have purchased our lift for their vans, and I guess, like, for any advice, would probably be best referring to them and like actually see it live in action and let them tell how to do it. But because it's so compact, it actually does fit in a van, and also, like, it's a standard plug. It doesn't pull that much. It's like 2 amps. Those like battery packs with a little plug in there will be like they suffice. So it's definitely doable. I'm not an expert at build outs for these vans, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see that they use it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'll recommend that they inquire about. I wonder about consumers as well. I think about the home DIYers, right, who want to do it themselves, and with more e-bikes on the market. Maybe Ryan, are you getting a sense that, I mean, I think right now I would make the assumption that your customers are mostly retailers or professional service shops, but are you getting any interest from riders or consumers about having these in their home?
Yeah, we do. It's been a while since we've looked at our sales and tried to come up with an estimate. But if I were just to pull some numbers out of a hat here, I'd say they're probably 15 to 20% of our customers are end users that are buying it for themselves at home.
Oh, wow.
So the vast majority certainly are shops, and that's to be expected. But we do have a very strong contingent of people who want to be able to work on their e-bikes at home, or who already have that really awesome garage workshop build out and need that one last thing to really elevate it.
Make all the friends jealous, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely
I
correct. Yeah.
right.
And I think if anything, that's just sort of that's a testament to the approachability of the product. It's not intimidating to use. It's not an incredibly large purchase that would someone's going to have to skip a meal or put off getting some new tires for their bike in order to purchase it. I think it's accessible both in terms of use and in its price. And as a result, we consistently see people purchasing it for use at their homes.
Yeah, so what about, like, I remember when I owned my shop, we would sell park tool stands to customers. So do you have any retailers who are looking to wholesale from you to actually sell in their store to customers?
We do have that. We have shops reaching out for that, and we actually tried it with a few. I think mainly on the West Coast right now. It's it's an interesting question where we still need to figure it out. Like as we grow and as the market grows, we need to figure out how all these things fit together. Like at this point, like Ryan mentioned earlier, like our main effort was to offer this stand as affordable as possible to these shops. Like a lot of the shops that we know, they don't have just spare cash laying around here and there. And so that made us go direct to these shops. That made us like make sure that our margins are not huge, let alone this whole tariff conversation right now. So it's like we don't have big dealer discounts. There are some benefits to have when people buy bulk. So when you buy like 6, 7, 8, at that point in time, it starts to be interesting, like to ship differently, and then you can save some money. It's not that we have like just 10, 20% laying around and offer that to shops. We don't do that. We want to be transparent. And so it's a little difficult sometimes to offer these incentives to dealers for them to resell it. And that market is not huge yet, but as that grows, it is something that we're going to have to figure out how to do. We're definitely like interested in doing this. We're 100% on board to work this out with shops. We're just not 100% set up for that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. You came out with a great product, you made it accessible to shops. And now it's like, okay, we didn't really factor in that this was going to be something that people wanted in their home shop. Let's figure out how to do that. So that makes perfect sense. And I did think I see that you're made sourced from China, so I'm sure that's put a little pressure on now everything. Yeah, sorry to bring that up, but I know you're gonna pivot and you're gonna figure it out or whatever needs to happen there as well. So that's just what we have to do right now, right? What about just like the thinking of you're making a product that's going to go into a bicycle service shop. You've obviously experienced these in your life. We're talking about multiple number of bikes through every day, up and down, heavy use. How are you ensuring, how are you getting the feedback and the data to make sure that the bike lift can, handle this kind of abuse, not abuse, but daily.
Well, we've seen some abuse or like some shops
you
call it
have
abuse themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fantastic question. One of the first things we did before we even got too excited was as soon as we had a functional prototype, that used the column we wanted to use, that had the capabilities that we wanted. We started to cycle test it. So we had it loaded up with about 120 pounds, and it was out in my garage, and it would just go up and then down, and then up and down. And then it would rest for a couple minutes, and then would go up and down and up and down. And we let that run until we got to around 40,000 cycles. And then we started to get some errors on that. And so we had to put Hank, as he was affectionately known, to rest at that point. So that was the first thing we did, is just cycle test it, 40,000 cycles at a level of use that you're not likely going to see in a bike shop. No one's going to be putting, hopefully not, a 120-pound bike in the stand and then running it up. That's just not realistic. But it did give us enough confidence that we had a product that was going to be durable and that would last, and that gave us that's the motivation behind our 5-year warranty on the product. We know that it'll last that long, used every single day by a bike shop, and we're not worried about that at all. In terms of actually field testing, we have a fantastic bike shop down the street here called Selwood Cycles. Oh, yeah. And they've been a great partner of ours. They're actually the first shop in the country that had one of our prototypes, and they are still using it. It's been in their shop, I think, for, gosh, at this point, probably around two years. And anytime we have something new or we have some kind of crazy idea that we want to test out, as soon as we get something that's usable and more or less there, we'll run down to Selwood Cycles and ask them to check it out for us and give us their opinion.
What a great opportunity for them and for you to have that relationship with a shop like that.
Yeah, no matter what, no matter how hard I ride or how many, friends' bikes I work on, I'm not going to put the same level of abuse on a tool as a professional shop will. I mean, they're doing it day in and day out with things that I would never even consider. So they're an exceptional resource and a good friendly neighborhood shop for anyone that is in the market.
I love that. Yeah. What about trends you're noticing? I mean, you're working in the space now, you're talking with retailers probably almost every day, getting feedback just on things that are happening in the industry. Is there anything that you're hearing more retailers talking about? Or, it's like you get someone on the phone who's in the industry and speaks your language. Sometimes you just like to talk and it almost becomes like a little therapy session, which I love, I'm good with. But is there anything you're hearing from retailers most often as you're having those conversations?
Well, it's not a surprise that most calls that we get and conversations that we have are around e-bikes. Mm-hmm. I think we can broaden that a little bit. You see the same happening in Europe where they call it e-mobility. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be just bikes or two-wheeled bikes. It can be three-wheeled bikes, can be these kind of scooters. And there's probably a ton of other stuff that I'm not even aware of. And so the maintenance on those, again, I'm not an expert at maintenance, but they're significantly more difficult or complex than the original bikes that we all rode. And there's interesting elements to it. For example, the batteries. Those are, how do you say, there's safety concerns around them. I'll put it that way. And so taking batteries out before you use or do maintenance on these bikes. But then what does that mean for making the bike the wheel spin or so those are the main the main conversations that we have. I think just the general for the industry, but that comes more from general, I think, society we live in. Health is a big piece of this. And as a cyclist, I think we're all busy with health and our personal mobility, the ability to, whatever age you have, to keep going outside and ride that bike just for whatever you want. And so I think that's where the same thing comes in, where we care how the mechanic uses these products. We care that they don't make overly amount of noise or that there's not too many exposed sharp edges or cogs or something that, injuries happen, they do. And as much we can limit those. So I feel like that's a trend that I don't necessarily discuss with these shops, but that we do see that is important. I think, Ryan, do you have anything to add there?
No.
Yeah, you made me think that, the conversations I'm having with retailers, is really about the servicing e-bikes is expanding. There's more e-bikes are coming in the door for service, not always the brands that they sell, but having even a designated service check-in for e-mobility products, as you say, Matthias. So like, you know, we've got like our acoustic check-in over here, and then we've got like our state-of-the-art service center with our REMCO Tools bike lift in it, or several of them, to show that you're in the business to really handle this sort of servicing and repair. It kind of wows people that you have a service area set up just for e-bikes. It shows them that you're the expert, you're in the business of servicing e-bikes. And I'm noticing more retailers kind of setting up that designated service center that speaks to that. Like, we are fully equipped. We have these awesome, you know, bike lifts here to help us do this work. So, and then cargo space. I think cargo bikes will fit on the bike lift as well, right? No issues there.
It depends. There's a lot of variations in cargo bike, right? So if you've got these like long tails, that's not a problem at all. But if you're starting looking into like these front loader buckets, I have one of those Dutch style bicycles. They're awesome. Ryan has one too. But like, it just like the shape of them, and like some trikes are the same way. Like the shape of them is just so awkward and off center that, let alone the clamp, like clamping it just on one piece, like having it rotate around that clamp is really difficult. And so at that point, we don't recommend people to do that. That's clearly on our website as well.
Yeah.
You never know if it tips over or stuff like that.
We love those bikes. We just don't like to try to put them in the stand to work on them. I remember that's like the Jake Sun trikes. They're like a nightmare.
Another quick trend I was thinking of, and like, call it a trend or not, I think it's pretty obvious, but like with e-bikes and heavier bikes, imagine you got a flat tire and you absolutely know nothing about changing flat tires, or something more severe on your bike. Like, these bikes are so heavy that people can't bring them into shops.
Right.
And so these mobile repair services, especially for e-bikes, but for anything, I think is a trend we see. There is interest from those for stand as well. But I also think it's going to be, this is going to grow even more. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. I was just talking with a mobile retailer this morning who said that like 90% of his business right now is going to customers who can't transport their bike, because he can show up and just go into their garage and get it done. So, or bring his van and get it done. So I agree with you on that trend. What about future things? So I'm always thinking about the future. Can you share anything? Is there anything coming out, future products, innovations that you're working on that?
Yes.
Such a dangerous question.
I know.
Yeah, we are definitely, we're working on probably a half dozen new products at this point in time. You know, one thing that Mathias and I discussed early on is desire to not be a one-trick pony. You know, we didn't want to have just this one product and never really expand from that, or have anything new to offer. So what we're doing in terms of our new products is similar to the bike lift, is we've tried to look at what's out there, what products are on the market, and what do we think, where do we think we have something to offer, be that an increase in usability, more affordable to the consumer, or just a different way to approach solving the same problem. So with that said, you know, we are working on stuff, but all of it's pretty early in development. I think we have a couple hand tools that we're working on that I think will be pretty cool, and then some stuff that's kind of more in the vein of the bike lift that we're working on. I think that's not too much, right, Matthias? Is that
not at all? And I think there's two products we can definitely call out. We have mentioned them at the CABDA shows as well.
Oh, yeah.
Is a tool tray and is a charger device. You could attach it to the lift, and so you can charge your like light or DI2 shifters and that kind of stuff. It has a delay because of the tariffs. It's just making sure that we got all our ducks in a row. Yeah, the other products, I feel like if we talk to people about those and then they take longer or we change, like, it's just dangerous to tell people about what.
Yeah, and
it's a dangerous question. Yeah, so it's
It's a good one. And I think, Matthias is correct that we don't want to get too excited. We shared a new product it made last year that was a collaboration between ourselves and Wheelworks out of Wellington, New Zealand. It was a Grimlock. It was their wheel stressing tool. And it's a fantastic product. I think it's got features that other products like it on the market don't have. And Tristan has done a wonderful job designing it. And then we got hung up with sourcing a couple of the components, and then now we've got tariffs. So it's just been something we were hoping to launch, in the fall of last year, which we had just about ready to go earlier this year, is now further delayed. And so we don't, we'd like to keep some of our secrets until they're a little bit more real, I guess, is what we learned out of that.
I think that's smart. Well, for our listeners who maybe are bicycle retailers, they own shops, they've heard of REMCO Tools, they've heard of the bike lift, but they haven't made the jump. Maybe they have more questions, or even for some riders that are listening, is there a contact you would share for people who have more questions? I mean, we'll link to the website, remcotools.com, but what if they wanted to reach out to one of you?
Yeah. They can feel free to email me personally. It's my first name, which is Mathias @remcotools.com. I do think it's safe to email info@remcotools.com, because that just gives us, both Ryan and I, visibility to it. If anything needs to, imagine I'm on a vacation for a week, you may get help faster on info@. And there's a phone number. It's also on our website. You can call us at 503, what is it again? 503-217-4033.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm thrilled to have you part of the MBDA community. It was great to have your support for our retailer summit at Cabda West out in Las Vegas. Thank you for that. And do hope that we get to connect soon at an event. I know I've heard just really fabulous feedback from the retailers. When they talk about the most premium bike lift to get, they always talk about REMCO Tools and just how great your support has been working with your team. So really thrilled to have you part of the community. And sorry for the hard question there about the future product, but I got you on the hot seat. I got to do it.
We can handle it. Thanks, Heather. Thanks for doing the work you're doing with MBDA. It's awesome. I think it's really good for our community and our industry, the efforts that you're taking. So we're really happy to be part of it. And thanks for this. What do you call this? This opportunity, I guess, to talk about ourselves.
It's fun, right? Give our listeners a little bit about the Ryan and the Mathias behind REMCO Tools, and about even why you're REMCO Tools. What a story! It's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Bicycle Retail Radio, presented by the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, or leave us a review. Sharing this podcast with your friends helps us reach more listeners and continue to bring you the best content. Remember, we host 2 shows per week with ever-changing guests and fresh content to keep you both informed and inspired. The National Bicycle Dealer Association is committed to providing valuable events, webinars, and opportunities for industry education and connection. Stay up to date by visiting nbda.com to see our event calendar. Special thanks to Francis Abbott for the promotional graphics for today's episode. If you're interested in advertising on Bicycle Retail Radio or have a guest suggestion, visit nbda.com to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Bicycle Retail Radio.